Ernst Röhm's life was defined by violence, fanaticism, and a powerful, ultimately fatal relationship with Adolf Hitler. Hitler maintained that anyone around him who might threaten his existence or authority was condemned to execution sooner or later, and this was Röhm's eventual fate. Röhm's physical appearance was imposing. He was stout or muscular and fierce. His visible scar hinted at a history of violence. He possessed the look of a simple-minded person, suitable for a fanatical, unthinking follower. He was the son of Julius, a railway employee. While his father might have been strict, Röhm needed little guidance. His family had no military history, but Röhm sought to become an officer in the German army. Röhm joined the Royal Bavarian 10th Regiment of Foot Artillery as a cadet. In 1908, after 2 years, he was commissioned as an officer. When the First World War broke out in August 1914, Röhm served as an assistant in the 1st Battalion of the 10th Infantry Regiment. In the very first month of fighting, he suffered a face wound that left the deep scars he carried for the rest of his life. In April 1915, he was promoted to first lieutenant and received the Iron Cross, First Class. Approximately 1 year later, he was seriously wounded in the chest during an assault on French fortifications. This grave injury removed him from the battlefield, leading to his reassignment as a staff officer, serving in both France and Romania. By the war's conclusion, he likely held the rank of captain. Röhm was known to his comrades as a stupid and fanatical person. His perceived foolishness and fanaticism allowed him to undertake highly risky actions with a dead heart, as he either despised the feeling of fear or suffered from poor judgment regarding danger. In the autumn of 1918, Röhm contracted the deadly Spanish flu and nearly died, but he recovered after a lengthy period of convalescence. Directly following the First World War in 1919, Röhm joined the German Workers' Party, DAP, which quickly transformed the next year into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP. He soon became a close friend and political ally of Adolf Hitler. Röhm's initial significant contribution to the party was recruiting former Colonel von Epp, which provided a massive boost. He also helped raise 60,000 German marks, which the party used to purchase the newspaper Völkischer Beobachter, making it the voice of the National Socialists. In early September 1923, during the German Day celebration in Nuremberg, Röhm helped mobilize approximately 100,000 participants. These participants included right-wing armed militias, veterans associations, and the Sturmabteilung SA, or Brownshirts, the Nazi Party militia. All these paramilitary formations followed Hitler, whom Röhm recognized as the political leader of the collective alliance of the nationalist right-wing movement. During Hitler's attempted coup in November 1923, Röhm led a militia unit known as the Reichskriegsflagge. He utilized this militia to seize weapons from secret caches in Munich and occupy key points in the city center. Röhm, with roughly 2,000 men, proceeded to the War Ministry building, occupying and fortifying it for 16 hours, while awaiting news of the coup's success. Following the failed coup, Röhm was among those tried for high treason. He was convicted and sentenced to 15 months in prison, although this sentence was suspended and replaced with security supervision. In April 1924, Röhm became a deputy in the Reichstag for the National Socialist Freedom Party, serving for about 8 months. While Hitler was imprisoned, Röhm attempted to form a new paramilitary organization to replace the banned SA. However, Hitler rejected this idea upon his release, having shifted towards a legal, constitutional path. Hitler understood that German authorities would not tolerate the type of illegal paramilitary organizations Röhm envisioned. In 1925, Hitler and Ludendorff explicitly refused Röhm's proposal to add 30,000 new members to the SA. In response to this refusal, Röhm resigned from all political groups and paramilitary formations on May 1, 1925. He was completely displeased with the party's new focus on legal methods. Röhm decided to completely withdraw from public life. In 1928, He accepted a position as an advisor to the Bolivian army. He lived in Bolivia for 2 years. Some historical sources in Bolivia claim Röhm was significantly involved in the planning and execution of the military coup led by General Carlos Blanco in June 1930. However, concrete evidence supporting his participation in this coup is lacking, and it may be a rumor stemming from his reputation as a rebellion specialist. In September 1930, while still in Bolivia, Röhm received a phone call from Hitler that changed and determined his future. Hitler called him back to Germany because the SA commander in Berlin had attempted an internal coup against the NSDAP leadership due to internal disagreements. Following this mutiny, Hitler personally assumed command of the Brownshirts and asked Röhm to return and take over the leadership of the SA General Staff. Röhm accepted, returning to lead the SA Brownshirts General Staff on January 5, 1931. Röhm implemented a vital change. He created a central general command for the Brownshirts, replacing the previous decentralized structure where regional party leaders commanded local militias. This centralization placed complete authority over the paramilitary force in his personal hands, and thus under Hitler's absolute control. At this time, the SA grew to approximately 1 million members, a force akin to a private army. While the SA's main duty became protecting party leaders at rallies and marches, they were primarily responsible for fighting communists and rival political parties. The SA also carried out hostile acts against Jews and anyone opposing the Nazi agenda, functioning effectively as the party's police force. Röhm also used the SA to support striking workers and protect them from counter-thugs. This was not done merely for benevolent reasons, but served as an expression of Röhm's socialist affiliations and secured worker support for the party. The SA's ferocity helped Hitler and the party rise to power, particularly by assaulting political opponents during election campaigns. Despite the rise of the party, there was widespread public resentment in Germany due to the SA's persistent rowdiness, drunkenness, and debauchery. Furthermore, scandals related to the homosexuality of Röhm himself and several SA leaders, such as Deputy Edmund Heines, were rampant. While Nazi ideology officially opposed homosexuality, Hitler knew about Röhm's involvement but did not challenge him due to the SA leader's growing power. Röhm and Hitler shared an exceptionally close friendship. Röhm was unique among Hitler's inner circle in that he did not address Hitler by the title "my leader," Führer, using only his first name or nickname. This intimacy led to unverified rumors that Hitler himself might have been part of the homosexual circle. Unlike others surrounding Hitler, Röhm was not afraid of him, nor intimidated by his perceived charisma. After Hitler secured power in 1933, SA members were integrated into the police force and ordered to discipline all state enemies. The SA men believed they were the guardians of the National Socialist Revolution and expected radical changes in Germany, including gaining significant governing authority. However, they failed to recognize that Hitler, having seized control of state security apparatuses, no longer required paramilitary militias or thugs to deal with political opponents. In Hitler's first government, Röhm was appointed as a minister without portfolio. He was also granted the title of Reichsleiter, national leader, the second highest political title in the NSDAP hierarchy. Röhm belonged to the most radical and extremist wing of the party. He aggressively campaigned for the Second Revolution, which entailed a war on capitalism and monopolies and the nationalization of lands and industries, reflecting the party's socialist element. Most SA members came from the working classes and believed the party's success would lead to the social justice they dreamed of. However, Hitler did not share these socialist views. The critical problem arose when Röhm and his SA men anticipated replacing the existing officer corps and becoming the new German army. At the time, the German armed forces were limited by the Treaty of Versailles to only 100,000 men, while the SA boasted over 1 million members. Röhm argued that the army should be merged into the SA and transformed into a people's army under his command. This demand was alarming to the professional German military, threatening their identity and centuries of tradition dating back to Frederick the Great. In February 1934, Röhm made this a clear political demand during a cabinet meeting, officially requesting the integration of the army into the SA under his leadership. Hitler was forced to choose between satisfying Röhm, his old friend and iron fist, or appeasing the armed forces whom he needed for rearmament. Hitler chose stability, declaring his intention to reduce the SA's numbers, effectively refusing Röhm's ambition to take over the military. Röhm reacted by increasing the number of armed SA members, a move seen by some as preparation for a coup. In reality, Röhm was not planning a coup. He even proposed a compromise, integrating just 3,000 of his men into the armed forces. However, the army staff rejected even this settlement. Hitler desperately needed the military's support for the coming succession of President Hindenburg, whose health was deteriorating. In exchange for the army's backing, Hitler agreed to reduce the SA's strength, curb Röhm's ambitions, and promise that the army would remain the sole armed force in Germany. Röhm had been sacrificed. Key figures in Hitler's circle, particularly Hermann Göring and Heinrich Himmler, formed an alliance to move against Röhm. Göring ensured that Himmler, Röhm's fierce rival, was given control of the Prussian political police, the Gestapo. Röhm was now an enemy to all influential groups. The business community, fearing his socialist ideology, the army, seeing him as an existential threat, Hitler, who needed the army and business interests, and the most dangerous individuals in the inner circle. The decisive moment came when President Hindenburg threatened to declare martial law if Hitler failed to control the rising tension in Germany. Hitler decided to eliminate Röhm. Göring and Himmler welcomed this decision and prepared for action. Himmler and Reinhard Heydrich created a comprehensive file of false evidence, including the claim that Röhm had received 12 million marks from France to overthrow Hitler. Under Hitler's guidance, Heydrich and SA leader Victor Lutze prepared lists of individuals, both SA members and others, who were to be liquidated. This entire operation was coordinated with the German armed forces. On June 30, 1934, Hitler, along with a large group of SS and police, flew to Munich. They arrived early in the morning at the hotel where Röhm and his SA leaders were lodged. At 6 a.m., most of Röhm's men were still asleep. Hitler personally led the execution squad and oversaw the arrests. Röhm's deputy, Edmund Heiners, was immediately executed by firing squad outside the hotel door. Other SA leaders were arrested in various locations during a two-day operation that became known as the Night of the Long Knives. The German state launched a defamation campaign against Röhm and the executed SA leaders, heavily featuring the homosexuality scandals publicized by propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, alongside the charge of high treason for which no true evidence has ever appeared. The arrested individuals were executed after swift trials, some lasting only 1 minute. SS commanders carried out most of the executions, but Hitler hesitated concerning Röhm. Röhm was an old political ally and comrade in arms, and Hitler felt his execution would be risky. Ultimately, Hitler ordered Röhm's execution, but gave him the choice of suicide. On July 1st, 2 SS commanders entered Röhm's cell and presented him with a loaded pistol containing 1 bullet. They told him he had 10 minutes to kill himself, or they would execute him. Röhm refused, saying, "If I am to be executed, let Hitler do it personally." When the officers returned 10 minutes later, they found him standing with his chest exposed, a sign of defiance. The SS men opened fire, ending the story and life of Ernst Röhm.